to thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening for this time of devotion. I also want to thank Aaron, and I want to thank Ezra, my assistants here tonight, helping to put this together. 469-256-8877, the number that we put up if you have a question, if you have a prayer request, or if you'd like to receive this study Bible, just send us your contact information. We'll make sure you receive this. I've called our lesson today, King Josiah's Godly Resolve. And this is part 2 to conclude what I started last Wednesday or last week. 2 Chronicles chapter 35 is where we'll be, and we come to the close of this series, Swords and Thrones. We've looked at the good kings of Judah. And what a journey it's been as we've looked at the different kings that obeyed God. And God who said they did what was right in the sight of the Lord. They obeyed him, and how God prospered them, blessed their kingdom, blessed their work there leading the nation, nation of Judah. We saw last week, looking back, as Josiah planned this massive Passover celebration, looking back to celebrate the Exodus. And this Passover celebration was enormous in size. It was the largest, 2 times larger than Hezekiah's Passover, the largest, greatest celebration going back 400 years to the time of Samuel. Today we look ahead as Josiah begins looking forward. And there's a simple lesson for us that's very practical, and that is how important it is to always keep the main thing the main thing. How important it is to pursue our duties and not let distractions get in the way. You remember King David, when it was spring and it was appropriate for kings to go out to war? Well, the Bible tells us that King David stayed back. And it's there as he forgets his godly duty, his obligation to lead the nation there into war. He's back home in the springtime. It's there that he gets caught into sin. He sees Bathsheba, and we know what takes place after that. He neglected his foremost duty to lead the nation. Perhaps you remember Nehemiah chapter 6, when Sanballat had sent a message as Nehemiah was building the wall, and Sanballat was trying to distract Nehemiah from his primary work of rebuilding the walls of the temple or around the temple. And Nehemiah responded with this amazing response. He said, "I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should this work stop, this priority work stop, while I come down to you?" Here is a case where Nehemiah keeps the main thing the main thing. He doesn't let a distraction come into play. Perhaps you remember the story in Luke 10 when Martha and Mary have Jesus over at their house, and Martha's there getting things ready with all of her preparations, busy doing this, busy doing that, and actually gets upset with Mary, who's sitting at the foot of Jesus. And Jesus gently corrects Martha and says that Mary has chosen the better thing. And Martha got all caught up in the distractions and missed the main thing. That's the key theme in these scenarios, is that God has given to us a priority work, a priority task, but how easy we can get distracted from that and neglect those priorities and fail to let the main thing be the main thing as we pursue lesser things. The general rule of spiritual matters and other things in life is that there are many good things, very, very good things, that can keep us busy from doing excellent things. And I think that's exactly what Josiah does in this chapter, and that leads to his downfall because he forgot his greatest duty as king of the nation. It could be that there are many good things that we could busy our lives with, busy our hearts with, busy our hands with, that you could do, that I could do. But those many good things, while they keep us busy, just sometimes turn into busy work doing good things, and they keep us from doing the excellent thing, the one essential that we must do. It's interesting, on an airplane, before you take off, the steward or the stewardess reminds everyone that if the cabin depressurizes, oxygen mask will fall down. And they say, first of all, put it on yourself. That's the main thing. And then put it on somebody else. Make sure somebody else has it. And they do this because you've got to take care of the priority number one before you can take care of priority number two. This is a timely message for us because we live in a culture of wave after wave of distractions. We have a main task, and the bottom line reality is that all the good things in the world, they're the enemy of the excellent things. And what if we woke up every day and said, today I only have time for excellent things. I'm not going to do good things. I'm going to do that which is excellent. Well, notice first of all the distraction that takes place here, chapter 35 and verse 20. After this, when Josiah had set the temple in order, Necho, king of Egypt, went up to fight at Carchemish on the Euphrates, and Josiah marched out to meet him in battle. The question that begs to be asked is why? This is a distraction because Josiah had been such a great king, leading the nation, putting the temple in order, a wonderful Passover celebration. And this King Necho coming up to fight at Carchemish, it has nothing to do with Josiah. It has nothing to do with Judah. It has nothing to do with Israel. This, by the way, is none other than Necho II. And he was known as a man of action from the start of his reign in Egypt, having a great imagination and tremendous buildings and innovation and construction in Egypt. Greek historian Herodotus said that Necho II had sent out an expedition of Phoenicians which in 3 years sailed from the Red Sea around Africa to the Strait of Gibraltar and all the way back to Egypt, an amazing feat of the sea in that time period. And what is going on here behind the scenes is a geopolitical struggle between the Assyrian nation that is now in steep decline. They're not near as powerful as they used to be, and the declining Assyrian Empire and the new emerging Babylonian Empire, which is on the rise, gaining more and more power. And the Assyrians made an alliance with the Egyptians to protect each other and go to war together against the Babylonians. All Pharaoh Necho wants to do, King Necho wants to do, is to get on that highway from Egypt in the south, go all the way through Israel, go up north to the city of Carchemish, and fight against the Babylonians there alongside the Assyrians. That's what he wants. He doesn't want to fight Josiah. He has no intention to battle Judah. And so Josiah gets distracted here. Notice, second of all, the meddling. But Necho sent messengers to him saying, "What quarrel is there, king of Judah, between you and me? It is not you I am attacking at this time, but the house with which I am at war. God has told me to hurry. So stop opposing God who is with me, or he will destroy you." Josiah, however, would not turn away from him, but disguised himself to engage him in battle. He would not listen to what Necho had said at God's command, but went to fight him on the plain of Megiddo. This now is not just a distraction. He's now meddling. It says, stop opposing God, is what Necho said. And what that means literally in Hebrew is stop meddling or interfering with God. God's got something in motion that he's told me to do. Stop interfering it. My battle's not with you, Josiah. So here's Josiah meddling in affairs that have nothing to do with him, and he's going to get involved in a battle. And like the Bible has much to say to us about getting involved with things that don't belong to us. For instance, Proverbs 26:17 says, like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Or Proverbs 3 and verse 30, do not accuse anyone for no reason when they have done you no harm. Or 1 Thessalonians 4 and verse 11, and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, you should mind your own business and work with your hands just as we told you. Josiah, right here on this occasion, did not do any of these. He He is someone who's getting into a quarrel that is not their own, rushing into it. He is someone who's doing harm to someone who's done him no harm. And he's not trying to mind his own business or lead a quiet life. He's getting involved. And 3 times we read here that King Necho evidently had received this word from God to go to battle. 3 different times to go to battle. God has told him to hurry and to not get involved with Judah. And we should not be surprised at this, because God is able to work through anyone, whether they believe in him or not. God is able to work through the nations. And right here, he should have heeded the warning. Josiah, you should have nothing to do with this. There's no reason to get involved. The battle's not with you. Josiah lived his whole life working so hard from the age of 8 when he became king until now to follow the will of God. And right here in his final days, the final days of his life, he disobeys God, the one who he had tried so delicately, so diligently to obey, down to the law. Josiah did not even seek the Lord in prayer. The silence here could not be clearer. It says nothing about Josiah inquiring of the Lord, seeking God, turning to him. This is something that he just does on his own. It's an impulsive reaction as he disguises himself and he goes to fight. So Josiah is distracted. He's now meddling and interfering with God and what God is trying to do. God had set into motion that there was going to be, there's now consequences for what the Assyrians have done. The Babylonians have been raised. They're joining in battle with Egypt to fight there at Carchemish. Notice his wounding and death. It says in verse 23 that archers shot King Josiah, and he told his officers, "Take me away. I am badly wounded." So they took him out of his chariot, put him in his other chariot, and brought him to Jerusalem, where he died. He was buried in the tombs of his ancestors, and all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for him. And what Josiah was trying to do, for some reason, is to stop King Necho from helping Assyria. So he tries to engage them there in this battle of Megiddo. This valley of Megiddo in Israel's Jezreel Valley is the bloodiest battlefield in the world. Is among the most fought over pieces of ground in history. The world's greatest armies have waged 34 known battles in this valley of Megiddo. This settlement there dates back to 7,000 BC. It's the site of history's first recorded battle in 1457, when the Egyptians under Pharaoh Thutmose III defeated a coalition of Canaanites. Revelation, the book of Revelation, refers to this term Armageddon, which is the Greek form of Har Megiddo, mountain Megiddo. And it's a scene in Revelation that's symbolic of a great, great war. We actually know where this battle took place between Josiah and Necho. It took place in the Hadad-Rimmon area of the Valley of Megiddo. And we know from archaeology that at what's called the second strata level, there's evidence of this battle taking place right in that region. Also, Zechariah mentions that term, Hadad-Rimmon, when it refers to Josiah's death. As he is in battle, archers hit him, and he cries out, "I am badly wounded." What an amazing king. The only king to remove every form of idolatry, every practice of it. So determined to follow every letter of the law to make sure that we're sticking to it, but here so misguided. First of all, getting distracted from what his job was and what God had called him to be, meddling and working against God instead of obeying him. And now we see his wounding and his death. Well, what is his legacy? It says in verse 25 that Jeremiah composed laments for Josiah. And to this day, all the male and female singers commemorate Josiah in the laments. These became a tradition in Israel and are written in the laments. The other events of Josiah's reign and his acts of devotion in accordance with what is written in the law of the Lord. All the events from beginning to end are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. The way this is written, it says that Jeremiah chanted. NIV translates that composed. He chanted these laments for Josiah. Indeed, all the people of Jerusalem and Judah mourned greatly. There was great mourning at the loss of Josiah because he was a beloved king. The singers lamented for him. All Israel lamented for him, and there was great mourning at his loss. These dirges, it says, of Jeremiah were written in the Laments, a book that is no longer in existence, that's sometimes confused with Jeremiah's other laments for Josiah's sons in Jeremiah 22 and in chapters 20 through 30. Sometimes this book of laments is confused with the Lamentations work of Jeremiah. This is something totally different that Jeremiah had wrote, and apparently when the writer says to this day, they're still singing this years after years, years and years later after Josiah's passing. He was a godly man, but here he is, simply just got distracted from the main thing. Getting involved with something that God never asked him to do, did not want him to do, warned him not to do. If Jeremiah or if Josiah chose not to fight that day, he would not have died. But the fact that he chose to go to war, even though he received the warning that it would cost him, it cost him his life. I think we would all be wise to hear and to heed this great advice. This happened 2,600 years ago. Here we are in 2023. And what's the message for us, for you and for me? There's a lot of historical data here. What's the point? Well, we are called to be about excellent things. Paul, when he would write, he would say, well, let me now show you a more excellent way. And he goes into the love chapter of the more excellent way of manifesting the gifts of God's Spirit inside of our being. We should always pursue that which is excellent. We should ask ourselves the question, is what I'm doing right now a good thing? Or is there something of a greater excellence that I can be involved with? Because the good things are the enemy of the excellent things. The point of this, if you remember when I began this series, was reading from Deuteronomy 28, the blessings for obedience and the curses for disobedience. And what we have seen as we've looked at these 8 different kings, 9 including Manasseh, what we've seen is these blessings played out and these curses played out right before our very eyes. You remember it says, Deuteronomy 28 in verse 1, if you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands, I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. God gave this warning that if you obey me, obey my laws, there's this blessing that I'm going to pour out in your life that will pursue you. Indeed, it will overtake you all throughout your life. And this was true in the life of the individual all the way up to the king. And Chronicles is showing us just how true this blessing was in these good kings. But there were also evil kings that did not obey. And here in 28 verse 15, however, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come on you and overtake you. And so just as the good kings received the blessings, we also saw that those bad kings like Manasseh, who started off with such a terrible curses poured out on his kingdom, that was also played out. And then when God got his attention, he changed, and suddenly there were the blessings that were coming into his life. What we learn is that it's worth a person's while to fear God, to obey God, to live our lives in such a way that pleases the Lord in everything, for the Lord is a rewarder of those who seek him. James Garfield was a preacher, a lawyer, an amateur mathematician. He was also associated with the Stone Campbell movement from Alexander Campbell and Barton Stone. He was really involved with that. He was principal of his Hiram College that was also founded by several from the Stone Campbell movement. They say that he was ambidextrous and could simultaneously write Greek with one hand and Latin with the other. In 1880, he was elected president of the United States, but after only 6 months in office, he was shot in the back with a revolver. He never lost consciousness. At the hospital, the doctors probed the wound with his little finger, trying to seek that bullet. He couldn't find it. He tried a silver-tipped probe, probing for the bullet. Still, he couldn't locate the bullet. They took Garfield back to Washington, D.C. Despite the summer heat there, they tried to keep him comfortable, and he was growing weaker and weaker. Teams of doctors tried to locate the bullet, probing the wound over and over and over again. In desperation, they even asked Alexander Graham Bell, who was working on a little device called the telephone, to see if he could locate the metal inside the president's body. He came, he saw it, he too failed. The president hung on through July, through August, but in September he finally died. Not from the wound, but from infection. You see, the repeated probing into his back to find this bullet by hand after hand after hand. Remember, this is the day before hand sanitizer and great ways to clean hands. But they kept probing and probing. The physicians thought they were helping when actually they were giving him germs and bacteria and infection that would eventually kill him. This is important because we need to understand the power of obedience in our lives. When we choose to obey God, it changes everything for us. The blessings are real. It impacts our family. It impacts all who are around us. The higher you are up in authority, the more the people under your care are blessed. But if we choose to disobey, its consequences are real. If we choose to disobey God, the impact it has on us and all around us is like an infection that eventually takes life. Oh, that we could be called to obey God with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our strength, all of our mind. You see, obedience is God's love language. If you love me, you will obey me, is what Jesus said. Let's bow with prayer. Father, thank you for this journey, these examples of lives in your word, the good kings of Judah. Oh, Father, thank you for the lessons that we've learned from them, and help us to be a people that are not easily distracted, not meddling, interfering with you, Father, but getting on board with you, with what you want to be done and to accomplish. And Father, I pray that we too could have a heart of obedience to please you, living obediently in every aspect of life. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray. It's for his glory and for his sake. Amen.
Bless the Lord, O my soul. O my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before. O my soul, I worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my to anger. Your name is great, and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. I worship your holy name. I worship your holy name.